Hi, hello, hi, and welcome to all our hearts and minds. Thank you again for tuning in. We are here to discuss all things that have been on our hearts and minds, the good, the bad, the concerning, and uplifting, or just straight talk. We're your hosts, Kimmy, our passionate heart,
Yeah.
and then there's me, Jeanette, your mind and chronic overthinker. Let's get into it.
Yes. We
Alrighty, so we're
shall.
back again with a new episode. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about Air India, Ananda Lewis, the riots. There's so much
Yes.
happening in the world. It's scary, but we're going to get into
Right?
it. We're not. We're just going to
Nuts.
confront it.
Just have to
Before
deal with
we
it.
just have to
Head
go with
on.
it. And
hmm
before we get into it, we just always have to start our episode to center ourselves and do a checkup with each other. So, my friend, how was your week?
It was okay. I
It was okay.
mean, I can't complain. To be honest, it was an okay week. In terms of work and stuff, it was work.
Mm.
But overall, the weather has been picking up. It's been a lot nicer this week. You know and family, everybody's okay, everybody's all right. uh yeah. I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, and you know what, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. There's nothing popping, nothing really dramatic or big to even talk about. I'm just glad family's okay, everybody's good. It's Father's Day weekend this
Yep.
weekend. But overall, I'm all right. How about you, girl? How you doing?
I am good. Yeah, it was a pretty solid. It was a pretty good week, just soaking up the wonderful time of the year that is summer here in Toronto,
hmm
enjoying time with family and all those good things, trying
hmm
trying to stay on my fitness journey and
hmm
keep it pushing. So yeah, I would say I'm feeling very much in good spirits.
That's good. That's good. And with the nicer weather out here, we should definitely be in great spirits this summer. So I'm looking forward to it.
Love it. All right. So, with that being said, we're sounds like we're doing good. The doctor's appointment was a success.
Yeah.
Um, and so before we get into headlines, like I always have to remind you, if you're listening, guys, thanks for tuning in. Please rate this podcast with the 5 stars, 4 stars, even 3 stars if you want. But please, wherever you're listening, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, YouTube, wherever it is you're listening, please rate and subscribe to the podcast, and we appreciate your subscription. All right,
hmm
let's jump into the headlines. Ooh, the world feels very scary. Again,
Heavy. Just
it's very
heavy.
heavy. We're not going to talk about everything because some of these things are like within the last couple of days, but I can't
Yeah.
but not acknowledge what's going on in the Middle East is very scary and
Yeah.
escalating very quickly.
Yes.
Uh yeah, so that's another topic, but the world is. Ooh, prayers out. That's all I gotta say. Prayers out, because we have a privileged life here, regardless
Yes,
of
we do.
all the annoying things that happen with our politicians. We don't have an active war happening. You know what I
Right?
mean? So yeah. So we'll jump into our first story in our headline section, and that is around the passing of video VJ Ananda
hmm
Lewis. She had a lot of roles, but Ananda was really famous for her being on MTV.
Yes.
MTV was like the center of music culture back in the day in the US, but
Right?
we got to know her too. She had a brief daytime talk show as well. After she her MTV days. And she recently passed from stage 4 breast cancer at the age of 52. And
52. Jeez.
believe we talked about this because was on TV or on the socials not far back, not too long ago. I'm sure we talked about this on one of our shows because it's very, I guess, not conventional and I think I wanted to talk about it at the time because I was like, Ananda, like, why, what, just the cancer could only come be, it's a word to say, the cancer could only get worse if you don't treat it traditionally.
Yeah.
And so when I say not treating it traditionally is to cut, do the process of removing the mass or the whatever they need to remove. I was breast cancer, so maybe, it's invasive. It's we
Yeah.
hear so many horror stories, so I understand anybody who chooses not to. And at the
Right.
time we talked at the time that we talked about the topic, she was at peace with the decision. I think the clip showed her saying, "Oh, sometimes I second guess it, but now that we're here at the point of no return, I'm at peace with the decision I made," because she did live really long doing, considering how aggressive the cancer it was when it was
Yeah.
diagnosed, because she was diagnosed at stage 3,
Wow.
and she did the natural way, and she lived like 6 years past that with the natural thing. And
Right.
then in the past year it metastasized to
Uh-huh.
stage 4.
Right. Right.
And that's pretty much giving you, not long to live, unless you
Right.
do, you know
And
even. Mhm.
from what I know of, like, naturopathic type of ways, I think that it can be successful. It's just it depends on what stage you catch it at, and
Mhm.
how some cancers are more, uh, they're more, they take over the body quicker than others.
Yes.
And so, I have heard of naturopathic ways actually working to
Mhm.
help to, cure cancer, or not cure, but to at least subdue it in the body where you're
Subdue it, yes, that's a better word,
in
yeah.
submission.
Mhm.
But if you're laid off in those stages, like, you really do have to get the
You need
conventional,
medical
yeah,
intervention.
the conventional medicine to help you.
Yeah.
You really do. So, but prayers up for her. She was, an asset to the culture, to the community. I think she was awesome at what she did. Um,
Mhm.
but it's sad. She's only 52. Like, that's not
And
old.
yeah, and she has a child that's not, like, I think maybe the oldest, he's definitely not more than a teenager at this point.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so it's hard to see somebody who had such a bright spirit and light go so early, and at what unfortunately feels like something that could have been not the case. Like, like she didn't have to go this soon. um if she did go to the traditional way when she was diagnosed at stage 4, but it's too late for coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Right.
And the good thing is she was at peace at her decision. So RIP to Miss Ananda Lewis, and prayers up to her son who's she's left behind. All
Yeah.
right, so we will move on to the big story that's getting, I think not enough people are talking about this, but the crash,
Right.
the Air India crash that happened a couple days ago, um, in Ahmedabad, India.
Right.
So basically, the plane took off. There's video of it. You see the plane take off, not even a full minute of takeoff, and it starts going down, and it crashes into a city nearby the airport. And of course, India is a big. This was a city, so there's a lot of buildings, a lot of people. So not only did almost all the people, pretty much all the people on the plane die, but there's a lot of fatalities on the ground as well.
I'm flabbergasted by this. Like, I really am. But I think what I find most surprising is that this is not being, like, talked about nearly as much. To be quite
Mm-hmm.
honest, I heard it from you,
Mm-hmm.
and then I heard it on Flow, or the radio,
Mm-hmm.
G98,
Mm-hmm.
and they even kind of said it very quickly. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, shouldn't we put a little bit more attention on this? I mean,
Yeah, there was a Canadian. I think there was at least one or two Canadians on there, who passed away. There was a lot of British nationals. Obviously, majority of the people were Indian nationals, but remember, India has a lot of migrants across the world. So Portugal, Canada, U.S., and England has lost some citizens as well.
wow, wow.
Um, But yeah, but the miracle story is, so two things before there's we have to talk about this lone survivor, and we will, but before we go, like one little detail about the actual crash itself. The actual plane, which is another one of airline company that has been under a lot of fire recently. I'm trying to remember the name, but it's been, this is the first time that this plane model has ever been in a crash. The
Oh wow.
787 Dreamliner. It's a
Oh
Boeing
wow.
plane. A lot of the other planes that have had crash are Boeing planes. I mean, like Boeing has made a lot of planes for across the world for a lot of companies, so that's not really saying anything. But there was like a Boeing whistleblower that ended up, which is a guy who was from internal the company, but was exposing a lot of nonsense, you know, going on in the company and the way they engineer planes,
Right.
especially with all the news that we've seen with a lot of recent plane crashes and doors flying off planes and stuff. So, Boeing's under of a lot of pressure right now. But this particular model, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, was known to be a very reliable airplane across the world. But this is the first time that it has had a this model has had an accident. So it's just something interesting considering all the things that have been going on around Boeing planes in general. So now we talked about the unfortunate tragedy of the plane
Mhm.
crashing, where over 241 people have died. But we want to talk about the one miraculous sole survivor. His name is Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, a 40-year-old British national.
Mhm.
I saw
Wow.
this man
Wow.
walking away from that crash.
Let me tell you.
The man, not only
Okay.
did he survive, he survived in one piece. Maybe his arm was broken or something. I think I saw him in the hospital. His face looked a little bit battered, and his arm was wrapped up. But the fact that I saw this man walking away from the crash, he was probably full of adrenaline while he was able to do that, to be
Right?
honest. But can you imagine?
No. I just, he is meant to be here on this planet right here. Like, you are a man with a purpose. Like, I'm telling you, the fact that I like, I'm not very often speechless or taken back, but
Yeah,
honestly, there were people on the ground that died. They weren't even in the plane,
right,
okay? And they
exactly.
died. And this man was in the plane
I
and
was trying
made
to
it out
figure
to
out.
live.
I was
Can
trying
you
to. I was.
imagine,
It's
Lord?
crazy. I was telling my mom. She was like, "What? He has life has a new purpose.
Yes,
This
and
and
my
that.
purpose in a life, because guess
Even if you
what?
don't want to, you're
You
gonna feel
have it
guilty.
now.
You have it now."
Okay.
So he limped away from the thing. They said that he when they talked to him, he said he jumped out of the emergency exit. So the seat he was in. So because everybody's now talking about seat 11A. Let me tell you now,
Okay.
whenever you book a flight, 11A is going to be the first seat
Right?
gone. Let me
God.
tell you, the 11A seat just got a promo, which
Right?
is
They're
the
gonna
price is
start
not this.
premium charge that seat right now.
Yesterday's price is not the same price
No,
after this. Okay, let me tell
no.
you that. So
Be
it's so when they
prepared.
show an image of the seat, it's pretty much just in front of the wings, just in front of the wings, and there's an emergency exit right there, because in the middle, they can like have emergency exits like close to
Right.
if
The
you sit
front of
on
the
the,
plane.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that was the exit he used to jump out. I think he probably jumped out. I don't think he jumped out while he was in air. He probably jumped out when the plane
We're
um
starting to crash or like
crashed,
hit
was
ground.
like on the
Yeah.
ground, exactly. But anyway, his brother was on that plane, but obviously his brother did not make it. um and it's just crazy now. Obviously, the airlines, everybody can't say nothing. They can't say nothing until everything's investigated. They listen to the black box and all that. But I think the story is, how the heck
Right?
and why the heck did this man survive out of over 240 people on that airline? So
I just,
I this is miraculous. This is not of man. This is
this is
not a
definitely
fluke.
God.
It's
This
not
is
a fluke.
definitely all day. This is
He
God.
was being he survived for a reason, and I hope he finds that reason.
Yeah, and whatever that purpose that he has been given, I think not only does he find it but walk in it, because
Hmm.
you're here for a reason. You are definitely here for a reason. And there are times that people who survive traumatic situations like this go through, survivor,
Survivor's remorse.
exactly, regret, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I hope that doesn't last for long,
Mm-hmm.
because you made it out of hundreds of people.
Yep.
So just keep that in your brain when you're going through life now. Um, I know it would be a hard journey to walk, but I would
Oh
know
yeah,
that God has
definitely.
God has made me to be here. So I need to walk it. I need to find whatever that purpose is and walk in it, because yeah, like wow, I, it's very seldom you hear something like this.
Very.
Very seldom, But
And it
prayers
was a
up for all
bad
those
crash. It wasn't.
families,
It
though.
wasn't no dainty crash. It was.
No, this was
If
a
you
bad
see,
crash, man. It was a
plane
bad
was parts
crash,
were everywhere. Like.
right? And where they crashed as well. Like
Hmm.
there was somewhat residential area, I
Yes, it
guess,
was on
like it
top
looked
of like
like.
a student, like a place where they keep students, like where the
Hmm.
residentials for student medical students. So there's a bunch
See,
of buildings, and people were in them. Not I don't know if they were full, but there's definitely some people in them.
right? Because there were quite a bit of casualties with that too. So the fact that you don't hear something like this, so if you're gonna walk out of this, like honestly, you have to reevaluate your whole
Yeah,
existence at this
it's
point.
pretty heavy. It's heavy,
It
but
is. It's heavy. It's heavy, and hopefully he'll be
you'll have
able
a
to
lot of
help.
support. I think you'll have so much
Yeah, he
support.
definitely will have support. But a crash like this, like honestly, it's very seldom that people make it out at all. So
Hmm.
to have one, at least one that made it out, I mean, that's back to what I was saying. Condolences to those families that lost people. And this man, like honestly, you have a mission. God has put you on a mission. Find it, walk in it, do it. And I think all those people around still support him, because this is going to be a real hard time like really wrap your brain around. But yeah, those people again that lost people, I'm sorry for your family. RIP for all those people who did die. They were just going on a trip and this happened. So yeah, it's sad, but you're in our prayers.
Hmm. Okay, so we're gonna move on to a next topic that's been causing a lot of unrest in the United States, in California and LA. Some riots broke out, because obviously we've been seeing in the news in the past few months how ICE has been raiding schools or raiding Home
Everywhere.
Depots or raiding homes. It's been pretty indiscriminate. Like, I mean, we know that they exist, but it's the raids have been like pretty aggressive. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're trying to show
yeah.
a show of force, and this is very much Trump style of doing things. Like, everybody, it needs to be dramatic, it needs to be loud, it needs to be
Even if
invasive.
it goes against the Constitution,
Ah,
like,
all of that,
you know, it's
right?
ridiculous.
So they've been aggressively, since they've been doing it for a while, but I think since the beginning of this month, it's been getting very aggressive.
Yeah,
And to the point, yeah, human rights and constitutional rights are now being infringed on, despite their mandate. There's still kind of ways, there's still laws, right?
right. Well,
Suppose you right.
I would beg to differ with that, because laws are laws are meant. Okay, the only way that a law is effective is if there's reinforcement, if
It
there's
has to be
enforcement
enforced.
of
I
those
agree.
laws, right?
I go, yeah.
So we can have laws coming out of the wazoo, but if nobody is actually going to enforce it, then they're pointless. And in this, what I'm seeing, right, is that they have been the simple fact that there is ICE,
Mm,
okay, is violating the Constitution.
mm,
Every person should have their day in court.
mm,
Everybody should have a chance to prove their innocence or not. And in
mm,
this case, if it's deportation, then by no means am I saying that you should keep criminals in your country.
Mm,
That's not what I'm saying. And
yeah.
this is not what that is. Like,
Mm,
let's call it a buck, because people are trying to muddy the waters with that conversation. And this is not that. This is just everyday people who are working in the United States, whose children are being deported, who are being picked up in handcuffs at their schools,
yeah, like
who like, that's a little, that's, we're going way, like, there's so much human rights that are being violated. It's ridiculous. But the American people are tired.
mm,
Okay? They're tired. One thing I will say is that the people that voted this man in, are a lot of those people that voted this man in, are Spanish people of some sort of
mhm,
degree,
mhm,
and they fucked around and found out. Okay?
mhm.
Cuz now he's coming for them, and he's hunting them down.
And a lot of the people in the Latin community are like, oh, he's gonna send back the bad people, all
Oh,
these
okay.
things. No, once you
He's
enter,
sending back anybody and everybody that might look like.
right, and so again, you said it, FAFO.
Well,
Um,
I mean, and what I was saying to you before was, I don't even know why that sector of the population decided to vote for this man, seeing that his track record,
with
like,
yeah,
his track record was, he was trying to look at how feisty this is. He wanted to build a wall to separate the United States from Mexico, and then expected Mexico to pay for said wall. If that isn't if that isn't the most ridiculous thing that I could have that you could have ever done as any sort of a president, and then you expected him not to act on that.
I mean, in his first term, he had kids in cages. He had ICE putting kids in cages.
I
So, I
mean,
mean, I don't know what they expected to be different this
I
time
really
around.
don't. I really don't. And so I'm not going to blame
I'm
them,
not
because
blaming. No,
I
it's
don't think that
ignorance.
they
It's ignorance.
it's just ignorance. And one thing I will say, and I don't want to make this a race thing, but I
No.
am going to point this out, that black people have been fighting this type of oppression
Yeah.
for centuries. Centuries. Okay, so we gonna put down our fighting hat for just one damn minute, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna let you all step in the forefront, okay?
Yeah.
And you guys can fight this war, because it is a civil war. If we're not careful, we will have an uprise of all the American people, because if you pay attention, every major state is in protest and up in arms.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago's up in arms. New York is up in California. Every Seattle, everywhere you turn, the place is up in arms. So if they're not careful, they will overtake the government, and they can do it. So the American people can overtake the government. Yes, they can.
If they
Yes,
want
they
to.
can. He doesn't have enough people out there who are willing to stand for you know, what he's doing. There aren't enough nationalists out there to stand for this hypocrisy and to stand for all of what's going on. I'm beside myself to see that I've lived this long, where a president is putting handcuffs on children in daycares, in elementary schools, going to people's jobs. Now their new tactic I heard the other day was,
Mhm.
people who are actually doing the legal process of becoming an American
Yes, that's the
citizen.
word. It's unlawful because they're owed due process. They're in the system. Their
Yeah,
application is in review. They should not be forced to
they're
go
going
anywhere.
they're going to, when they have, like, they go to actually do their testing and stuff
Yeah,
like that, they're arresting them.
you're right. See, that's what's against
So
the law.
they're doing it That was his whole thing. That was one of Trump's big thing. Oh, it's unlawful. They're not doing it the right way, and blah 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 blah. Well, okay. How do you explain arresting people who are doing it the right way?
No explanation for
Right.
that.
So that's why we know it's a bunch of bull. It's a bunch of bull. He wants to just get rid of them.
Hmm.
Period. He doesn't want them in the country at all. He's finding all sorts of ways and all of this. Well, the riots are going to continue, and they're going to get worse, and they're going to be closer and closer together. And Trump, you need to be very careful, man, because it's the ones that are around you that you should be the most afraid of. Okay, so my heart goes out to those people who are dealing with this because they are not getting their just due. And a lot of these people are contributing members of the American population. So they pay into that same system that is now turned on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let that sink in. They're paying into a system that is turning on them. Oh, no, not turning, has turned,
Has turned.
past tense. So, but the riots, but what I am focused on, right,
Yeah.
is what the hell are these places going to look like after the riots?
Well, we've seen when 2020 we saw what that could look like.
Okay,
So
these are
the businesses have already started boarding up because they know they're like, listen, we're not trying to have many more broken glass and all this. So
they're They're leaving. They're
yeah,
leaving. They're just gone. They're just saying, okay, shut down our store. We're done with it because it's getting real wild out here.
yeah,
People are,
it's
the
escalated
American people
quickly,
are
and one of the
really,
reasons why
yeah.
it's escalated is, listen, this started again earlier this month. They were raiding Home Depots, and like you
Can
said,
you
there we see the coverage,
imagine?
and a group of people or
Lord.
protesters decided, no, we need, this is illegal, for the reasons that you just explained, and they went around to one of the offices in there's Paramount, in the community of Paramount, because there's a rumor that they were going to come and raid a Home Depot there that is known to have undocumented people looking for work.
Can you
And
imagine?
as well
Oh my
as,
God.
so they started protesting around one of the courthouses downtown in that area for these reasons that we've all discussed. And so this happened for a couple of days. It's just people, being loud, being
Yeah,
disruptive, waving flags, throwing things, blah blah blah. But the thing escalated to fires and everything when
exactly.
Trump didn't even give it Trump didn't even give it 2 full days.
Right?
The man called the National Guard. You don't call the
You-
National Guard for
What?
this. Like, the
Like,
National Guard is for, like, when they called the National Guard, they didn't call the National Guard. So when we had the George Floyd thing, I can't remember which city. Maybe it was the same California. In California, they haven't called the National Guard since um
King rights. Yeah.
the Rodney
Hmm.
King riots, and they waited about a couple weeks of the
Right?
riots before they actually called the National Guard. So that's to tell you how trigger happy Trump was with the National Guard.
And I remember because I was around back then,
Mhm.
and I was old enough to understand what was going on. And what I remember was like businesses, like people were crying out, like, please send the National Guard. Like,
Mhm.
this place is it's about to go up in
They were begging.
flames.
It was bad. Like, it was crazy.
They
Yeah.
were begging. Okay, so if that's the case, how are you sending in the National Guard over protesting? Like, that's the thing that we really have to focus
And
on.
it's
The
a
fact
small,
that
and
we're
it was honestly a
protesting and
very,
this
it
is
was
the response.
and honestly, it's in a very small contained area. It's not like the whole of
Yeah,
LA. It was like literally a small section in this small community called Paramount, where these communities are, and the courthouses around that it kind of broke out. But it's not like the whole city shut down. It got aggressive where they started cutting off the highways, and it got really like hardcore when they called in the National Guard and all these military and all this. That's just going to escalate the situation. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And so
yeah.
and that's what's happened. And this is very much Trump style. If Trump was in power when the George Floyd thing happened, he would have done the same. And trust me, a lot of people would have got hurt. People
Well,
were hurt regardless, but it would have been even 10 times worse because, Um, yeah, so
But the
I would just
National
say,
Guard, like,
and
wow.
so the mayor Karen Bass and Governor Newsom have gone done, they have put
Mhm.
cases against Trump for doing this because this is a state and the state's supposed to deal with their problem. They didn't ask for this, and they believe, like we just discussed, this is us making an issue that was yes, it's going on. We can't pretend like there's not protests happening, but it was very contained. Like, you know what, like it wasn't as disruptive. It's disrupting the court maybe, but like in terms of everybody else, not really. And then now it's
Yeah.
it's it's gotten broader, and all it's going to do is make more people angry because
Yeah.
this is the federal government overstepping their power.
Boundaries. And again, when I talk about laws, right? So where are the laws being enforced to keep this man? He shouldn't even be president right now. Like, if we're talking legally, he should not be president right now. At all.
No,
At all.
he, he
He
was
he's committing
impeached
laws.
already.
Yeah, okay. The man is committing, like, these are real laws that he's violating
Mhm.
at left, right, and center, and nobody's doing anything about it. That's the
Yeah,
part
the
that gets me.
Democrats, they release a
What is the
statement.
judicial system doing?
Yeah,
Because all I hear every 2 damn minutes, okay, is this court is trying to get him to stop this and that and the third, and he just keeps going on.
he
He
doesn't.
just keeps proceeding. So the judicial system in the United States is a joke. It's a complete joke, because why is he still getting away with it? Like, for instance, when he was deporting a lot of these Spanish Americans, I'm going to call them that,
Mhm.
back to El Salvador, back to wherever they're from, and the government was saying, or the courts were saying, sir, you can't do that, so you need to bring them on back right away. And he just kept on deporting and kept on deporting and deporting and deporting. And now he's wrapped it up where it's like, oh, he's serious about this. He's bringing in the National Guard. He's
Mhm.
he's he's
Yeah, he's like, I'm
collecting
not gonna
people at
let
their
this.
schools. Like,
Yeah,
he's taking people right from their jobs. People are afraid to leave their house.
yeah,
They're collecting them off the street.
that's a real thing. People are afraid to leave their house. Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the type of tampering that's going on, because I saw this quick story,
Mhm.
and this couple, the man was white and he's American, and his wife was from, I think she was Mexican, and she went through the process.
Yes.
She went through the process. She has her American citizenship,
Hmm.
and she got a notification through immigration that she's no longer an American citizen.
Like, what
Just
is
like
that?
that.
That doesn't work
Just
that way.
just like that. Just like that. And she's like, both of them are like, what are you talking about? What you saying? She's an American citizen. She's been American citizen for a good 5, 6, 7 years, and so they had to go to immigration. They were vlogging, I guess, about their journey on to immigration now to ask them, "What you talking about, Willis?
Mhm.
I have my documents. Uh, Here's my documents. What are you telling me?" So even then, people who are American citizens, they are taking their citizenships away from them and tossing them to the side, like they haven't gone through the process. So this is just, they just want the I guess immigrants out of their country altogether. Or that's what Trump's aim is. But he
It's
doesn't
all
realize
smoke and mirrors.
there's
But
laws to this.
yeah,
There's laws to this. There's laws to this. But there isn't any, I guess, in his
as
eyes,
far as he's concerned, he's the
because
law.
nobody's enforcing it.
He's the law. That's what he thinks.
Well, this is what it's cracked up to be.
So yeah, the governor has they have
Communism
officially.
in the States. Who would have thought?
Hmm. They have officially, or fascism.
Okay.
They have officially sued the president, and they've asked. Here's Trump's response when the press is talking to him about all the Democrats who are making statements, and Newsom who's sued technically, quote unquote, sued him. He said it'd be great if the acting head of ICE would arrest Newsom. That's what
Wow.
that's what he's been rumored to say about the governor of California who was born and raised in the United States. So
Wow.
this is who we're talking about here. This is the guy like
It's
there's
crazy.
no reason whatsoever. But
No.
I will say that there's a lot of back and forth online about, again, you touched on it, the Latino vote and the fuck around and find out aspect of it. But no, I don't think even the people who are saying that, I don't think they're not apathetic to what's happening. They see this, like you said, where they're actually more sympathetic than ever. But it's also kind of like we said, when the president won, and honestly, I think if he didn't have the Latino vote, he couldn't have won without the
He
Latino vote.
wouldn't have won.
And so if the Latino community voted like the black community, I don't think he would have had such a
He
maybe.
wouldn't have been he would not have been in power. Period.
And
He wouldn't
so
have been. There's too high of a
e-
population
exactly.
between those two demographics that you just mentioned where he just wouldn't have.
And so I don't think they deserve this, and I'm sure the black Americans don't believe they deserve it, but
No.
they need to rest. They've been
We
taking the
are
brunt of all of trying to right the injustices and fight a systematic oppression in the United States. And when it came time for everybody to get on board and be on one page, it didn't happen. And so I do believe eventually that the Black American community will get involved, but I think for now, until it escalates to, um, I think it has to escalate to a certain point. And even though it looks bad now, the media is always going to exasperate stuff. I still think it's pretty localized, but it's definitely escalating. And so prayers up to those families and the people who are on the front lines and getting tear gassed and everything. It's scary, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
illegal.
yeah,
Period, point blank.
there's pure there's crimes being performed right in front of us,
Yeah.
like literally right in front of us. And in terms of the black population, I was saying to you before, the one thing that the American white population can't stand, you can't deport us black people.
Mm,
You can't. Where are we gonna go?
mhm,
You can't send us no place. This is our home.
mhm,
So, as black people, we've been fighting for centuries,
mhm,
okay? And so we tired. Yeah,
mm,
we tired.
mhm.
So we gonna take a pause,
We're taking a
okay?
pause, just a little pause
Just a
here.
pause because we're watching what's going on.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
we're
like don't
all
get it
watching.
twisted.
Yeah.
We're watching what's going on because at any moment they listen. At any moment they'll start attacking us.
Oh yeah, like
So
that's what I love. You know what I have to say? I'm happy to see is that everybody is aware that this could easily be anybody. It's just
anybody,
they're just taking the lowest hanging fruit, a common enemy, quote unquote enemy to middle America, and
yeah,
and
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 they're
using that.
taking the people they can actually deport because you
Yeah.
can't deport black people.
Hmm.
The black people who are in America right now, they can't be deported
Not the black
unless they
Americans.
are actual immigrants, like coming from
Yeah.
another part of the world, like maybe Africa, and they're actually making the journey themselves.
Yeah.
No, you went many centuries ago and took us, okay, and you brought us here. So guess what? This is our home. You can't deport me to go nowhere. So we're going to pause for the cause and we're going to watch what's going on.
Hmm.
We need to reserve our energy. We've been fighting for centuries. You
Hmm.
understand? And also, I just want to put this out there. We had to fight everybody,
Mm. Mm.
everybody, including those same Spanish people,
Yep.
Indian people, Chinese people, white people. We've had to go up against everybody because of this international idea that blackness is wrong.
Mm.
Okay? It's an international idea. Okay. So with that, we're going to just, support you from the sidelines.
Just for a little bit.
Just for a little. No, we understand, but I heard this comment the other day that a lot of people are wondering where are the black people to help support.
I hope
And
so. Hmm.
the question shouldn't be where we at. Okay.
Okay. All right.
That's not what you need to
Where
worry about.
were you?
Where were you? Okay, cuz that's the real damn question. Where the hell were you? Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Hmm. So, we stand in solidarity with you because it's oppression,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Of course.
But we're gonna do it from the sideline.
Just
We're
for a
gonna do
little.
we're gonna do it from the sidelines.
Just for a
You know
little
what I'm
bit.
saying?
Just for a little bit.
Just a little bit, just a little bit, a little bit.
Okay, well, again, they have our support and sympathies, and we'll see where this goes. But what Trump's administration is doing with the ICE agency is very unlawful. So I'll just leave it there. Okay,
Right?
so we're gonna jump into something a little bit lighter.
Yes,
the
those are
world
heavy
is
topics.
the
Yes.
world is a scary place. But this week, Kendrick Lamar and SZA passed through Toronto
Mm-hmm.
with the Grand National Tour. Um, so it's so crazy. After the first night, it's two nights. So it was June. It was June 12th, Thursday and Friday, where they had two shows in the Rogers Center here in Toronto. And you know what? I forgot. Like I even forgot. I knew they were coming to Toronto, but I didn't know the date. I'd actually for some reason thought they were coming in July. And I don't know how I felt. I can't 100% say how I felt, but I was a little bit surprised, let me just put that way, to see clips of Torontonians going a little too hard. I mean, not like us was a big hit. It had a big cultural moment in the Super Bowl.
Right.
As big as Kendrick is, it even took him to newer heights.
Right?
But I was
The
like,
one song, people. The one song. Like
this is a song.
Jesus.
It's okay to cheer and sing, but they are doing it. There's just a little too much energy in it for me. Let me just put it this way. And so the comments. So when you go to some of the Toronto kind of blogs, the messy blogs in Toronto, the comments were in shambles. The comments were in shambles, and that's why I say I don't know how I feel. Like I was like, it would be natural for the crowd who paid to see Kendrick Lamar to sing along with the song, but he performed the song two times, and there was even a moment where he sat back and was stood with the mic down and soaked it in as people literally cheered and encored for a good amount of time. Like I'm saying, at least when it's a long, like that's not 1 or 2 minutes. Let's just
Yeah.
say soaking it
Yeah.
in, and I was like, blood clot, blood.
Right?
Yeah. And this is coming from somebody who loves Kendrick. I think
From jump.
from
From day
from
one.
time. But I was like, Toronto, the way the comments were looking, I felt a
We
way.
look like idiot. You
Yes, I
understand?
want to say it. But so
Mm-hmm.
there's the angle where it's like, oh, maybe it was mostly there's like mostly young people who are
No.
not like who weren't around the Jake's come up, or there's a lot of like Caucasian people who don't have any type of loyalty to either one of them, so it doesn't matter. I don't know. I didn't see the demographics, to be honest. I did see a fashion blog I follow. It's called Fitted Toronto, and it was eclectic. It was definitely not a it was well, kind of Toronto's a diverse city, so that's like a bad, you know, I guess
And there are
analogy.
there are quite a few Americans that live
Come,
here.
yeah, they did. Yeah,
So
and you know what? There was actually a couple comedians that are from New York that I follow were here in Toronto doing a show, and they went in Toronto. So some people, like, say if you're from Detroit and you're like you can't make the Detroit show, or for whatever reason,
exactly.
sometimes the
Toronto's right
Americans
there.
people will just come, or the tickets are cheaper. They'll just come here and watch the show. So that's actually a good point. Um,
But from the clips that I saw, they were going a little too hard,
it's
okay? Because
just
you look
a
like
little.
idiot now.
Yeah, you made
Just
us
a
look.
little
You
bit. Like
made
he's
Toronto.
talking about us Canadians not being, well, specifically Drake,
Mhm,
not being like Americans. And if you look at the beef, like, the reason why a lot of people side with Kendrick is because they believe, hip hop was birthed in the United States,
mhm,
and us Canadians are just kind of following along.
mhm.
So, yeah, when I saw the clips on how hard people were singing the damn song, I was like, bruh, we need to calm that down a little bit. Like, I
Just a
know you're
little.
probably in the whole, because I've been to a concert, and I
Yeah.
know that sometimes it's like just the hype
Yes.
alone,
You can get
right?
caught up. Yes, that's true.
You're singing away in the hype and the hype, but it's like, bruh, you don't know what's popping. Like, you don't know, he's talking about us. Like, I don't know. But I will say this is that this was such a big song that I
Mm.
feel like everybody and anybody will adapt to or adopt it.
Yeah, no, that's what
So
I'm saying. Like, I'm not even mad. Like, I think it is a song that he has to perform. And I also think that people expect it, Toronto or not. I'm sure they expected it. If he didn't perform it in Toronto, they'd feel jilted.
yeah,
So I'm not
and
saying there's.
and when I think of being a Canadian, I could say they're not like us either. Like
Mhm,
Americans are not like Canadians.
mhm,
You know, that's what I mean by adopting. Like I think that a lot of people, even someone who is maybe Chinese versus someone who's Korean, can
mhm.
say you're not like
Oh, it's
us.
a very common. That's
It's
yes. It's
right.
a
It's
very the
an
phrase is
right.
very easy to transferable. Yes, I get you. I get you.
Exactly, right? And so I feel like, okay, but they were a little too hyped for what I'm
It
saying
was
right
just
here.
that's all I'm saying. I'm not I think he needed to perform the song, but there are some people in the comments like LA would never, um
No, they wouldn't.
Toronto, you look soft. I
Yeah, we
like
do.
there's a lot of that in the comments.
Yeah.
Me personally, it's not the fact that the song was sung. I just think it was just they needed to bring that down a few notches. That's all. That's
Just
all.
a little. It
Just a
was they were going a
little.
little, there's a difference between like that 10 and that 9. You know what I
Mhm,
mean?
mhm.
Guys were going 10, okay? And it was like you needed to be like 6 or 7. You
You
know what
just
I'm
yeah. That's it. That's for,
saying?
for that song in particular.
Right?
That's it. Just that song.
Yeah, once he's done with that song, you guys can go 10 again. You can go hard again. But like it did look away only because, well, first it made us look stupid. It made
Yes.
us look dumb
Yes.
because
Yes.
do you not know that these words are aimed at you?
Well, to that point, okay, here's my point of view. I've heard a lot of people say that as well in the comments. I don't agree, and here's why. This is when to me, he in that song and in the theme with all the other songs during that time where it was explicitly he was talking about Drake. Drake is a colonizer. He comes in, he takes his culture like his own, pretends that he's a whole bunch of personas that he's not, da 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 da. And I
Right.
more think like it's like you are talking about the colonizer in general. I don't think he's looking at somebody from Toronto as a colonizer, but it's saying Drake in particular did it in a
Mm,
certain way. And so I personally don't own that. Yes, a lot of people
right.
agree with you, but it didn't really resonate with me. But you can expand on that further.
Well, for me personally, I don't feel what he's saying. Like
Mhm.
that aspect of the song kind of, I allow it to go over my head
Yeah.
because I don't think that it applies to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Um because I've been on hip hop and rap way, like if we really were to go into the history of music, right? The history of music, hip hop took from a lot of other genres. It took from a lot of beginnings that could be rooted in, West Indian culture, to be
Yes.
honest,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
right? So that's why I don't like to, I don't think anybody can own
No.
music,
No.
right?
Exactly.
I don't think it's for one particular segment of the population. I think
Mhm,
everybody can enjoy it. It's meant to be enjoyed by everybody. However, I do see that there are a lot of people, and I kind of agree,
mhm.
because this song was directed specifically at one of
Yes.
our only, okay, internationally known
Mm,
performers and music or artists, and so in that respect I can see why, like, don't you see, like, this is aimed at us. However, it's music, so I can appreciate those people going hard, but I just felt that it needed to be at like a 7 or 8, you know what I mean?
yes. I'm
Like you
totally with
guys were
you.
at 10, 11, you know what I mean? And we are not American, and so leave the 10 and the 11 for the Americans, right?
Mm,
But realize that he was directing his shots at Canadians
mhm,
a little. I do see a little bit of that
mhm.
because when you think of Canadian music, right? We don't have a lot internationally known Canadian artists. We just don't. Um, it's not always fair, but we just don't. We have our accolades in different areas of
Yeah.
entertainment,
Yeah.
right? Like nobody can tell me that Jim Carrey isn't the shit.
Of
Okay?
course not.
Oh, okay. Right. And he's from here. So we have our different niches, right? I do think that somewhat of what Drake did was
Colonize.
colonizing their music,
Mhm.
because what he did was he forgot where he came from
Mhm.
and he tried to be something he wasn't.
Yeah.
That's the problem. If you can appreciate the music and you just want to be a part of the music, people can appreciate that.
Yes.
But when you're starting to be something that you're not, based off of things that you might have seen, then or things that you think represents music or that genre of music, and it's not true to who you are, because that's where he made the mistake. And I
Yeah.
will admit that with Drake, that's
Mhm.
where I fell off of him,
Mhm.
because it was like, who are you? Who are you? You are the guy that was on Degrassi, right? Like, who are you? You're trying to act like you're some big thug. You're not. You're just not. But you are somebody who loves the music, right? And so he should have stuck with that. But I think, there was a point in his career where he had to, it was, he had to do something. He had, in order to continue thriving and continue to be so popular, he had to do something. you know um I don't know if that something was the right way for him,
Yeah.
but then he started to get cocky. See, that's another problem with Drake. And I think that's why Kendrick had to humble him down a bit, because Drake was getting a little too big for his britches. He was. And it wasn't so much about the music.
Mhm.
It was more about the power that was behind him being so popular.
Mhm.
And I feel like at times he almost lost being Canadian.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not going to say that he didn't come out the gate. He came out the gate saying, "Listen, I'm Canadian. I love being Canadian. This is who I am, but this is the music that I love." And but then he started to switch, cuz then he started to do things that I've never seen any Canadian do that.
Mhm.
I've never seen, some of the things that I saw him going on with over the years wasn't true to being from Toronto specifically, because I feel like there's a whole different culture that's here in Toronto than anywhere else in Canada.
Mhm.
So I think he strayed away from who he truly was, and unfortunately, people could see. And he got a little too big for his head. His head got too big, and Kendrick, he came along and he humbled him real quick. And yes, it's okay if we sing the song. However, understand that it is somewhat of an attack on Canadian people, just a little bit. I mean, if if you hold Drake at any sort of level in Canada, it is somewhat of an attack.
Mhm.
Um, but I think generally speaking, Americans don't look at it like that.
Mhm.
They just look at it like, you just ain't us. We
Yeah,
don't
that's
care where
it.
the hell you're from.
Yeah,
You just ain't
exactly.
us,
That's it.
right? And so, and I can appreciate that, because we're not.
Mhm.
We're not. Here in Toronto, vastly different than Detroit.
Mhm.
We can say that, you and I, because we
Yeah.
lived in both places, or close to both places.
Mhm.
So it's very different when you're in Toronto than even in different parts of Ontario,
You're right.
right? And so I think that over the time, Drake kind of lost his way a little bit. I think he, was chasing a bag more than he was chasing the culture. Um, but either way, you know what? We shouldn't be on 10 when we're hearing that song.
That's it. That's it.
That's all I'm saying. We shouldn't be
That's
on
all I'm
10.
saying.
A good
Um
a good level is 6 or 7, okay? Cuz yes, the song is like, come on now. It's how many years now later? The man had so many awards off of the one song. Like, the
yeah.
song is tough.
Yeah.
And we're gonna hear it years from now, forgetting all this beef, and
Mhm.
everybody's gonna be popping to that song. Everybody's gonna be singing that song, right?
Mhm.
Forgetting the beef and all of that, right? And we probably will. They like, yeah. Everybody can adapt to whatever the situation is with this song in their own country, right? So
Mhm.
I can appreciate that. But however, I'm going on too much about this because honestly, Mr. Kendrick, you have gotten too much with this damn one
The
song,
one
okay?
song,
It's one song, fam. And the thing is, I've almost forgot your other music.
which is
Like I've
brilliant.
almost forgot your other music. Like I had to refresh my memory about your other music because this is just taken over.
This song has taken over for real.
It took over. Like it literally took over. And so just expect it to be an anthem. And to be quite honest, the people who are on 10 when they're listening to the song, I think it's just the vibe of the song. Like it gets you what is it? It gets the people going. It gets the people going, you know? And it's just one of those songs. So but Kendrick, please don't come back here to Toronto and perform that song here again, sir. You did it twice. We went along with it. We are done. You can't come back here with that song, okay, here, sir? We need to let this song die. We need to let it die. Like, just let's put it away. Let's put it up for a minute because it's still playing so hot. Like, people are so hot with the song. Anyways, moving on.
We're
Let's
gonna
go
move
on to
on.
something else. Kendrick, you've gotten too much shine on this damn one song, okay, sir?
Okay, so we are going to jump into music news, and it's going to be all encompassing because we're going to be talking about the recent BET Awards. The
Yes.
BET Awards that came on, they come on every June, and
Yes.
I have seen it in clips. I have not seen it show in entirety. I saw a clip of Kevin's monologue at the beginning. Kevin Hart hosted. I saw that.
He was hilarious, by the way.
I
I thought
saw
he was hilarious.
yeah, he did a really good job actually.
Yeah, he did.
Um he there was also I saw a clip of a tribute to Quincy Jones done by
Hmm.
Luke James. They had somebody else, the guy from Sinners, the boy from Sinners, and there was one more singer. Oh, Lucky Day. It was really
Hmm.
good. I saw some clips of Tiana's performance, which was the most she did the most, but we'll discuss.
Yeah.
We I saw so who else did I see? Glorilla, she did a great job. She's
Yeah,
just
I
getting
thought
better.
so too. I was like, okay, Glow.
She's been getting better and better. Oh, I saw the tribute, the B2K. There was a little like what do you call it? 106 in Park little tribute thing. So
Yeah,
it
which
was
I liked. I like that. Yeah, but I like that.
B2K, what's his name? Lil Bow or Bow Wow. Ashanti did something a part of that, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe
Mm-hmm.
Sierra also did something.
And Mia or Maya. Sorry, Maya.
Oh yes,
Maya.
yes, I
Maya.
saw her as well, Maya. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's still looking sharp.
Right. And
Yeah.
she still got the moves, boy. She still got the moves.
So they had a lot. So and well, one thing I had to bring up before we actually talk about the awards is the outfits, because last year Kim's biggest complaint, which
Okay.
wasn't as big as I didn't
Say it. Mm-hmm.
make it
That's
as
right.
much of a thing, but
Mm-hmm.
Kim, it was Kim's observation, and she was actually right. Is the fashions that last year
Thank you.
it was too casual. We would always go back to Ti in that
The cookout. The
in the
uncle
in the
from the cookout.
in the
Hmm.
tracksuit outfit or something.
Right?
I was just like, what? There was a lot of casual outfits last year, and this year BT said not today.
Not today.
They
Okay.
it was a black tie formal affair, that was the thing, and you know what, it showed up
Right?
on the red
Okay.
carpet. It showed up on
Okay.
the red carpet this year.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
saw everybody was dressed to the
Yeah.
nines. um and yeah,
Show out.
so
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think I would start with the just going to my notes. So yeah, Kevin Hart hosted, had some funny skits. I love his monologue, was really funny. I don't know if you saw, but his
I
opening
did,
intro,
and I thought he was
that
hilarious.
joke with Sinners and Kanye.
Right? I
Don't
was
let him
like,
in. Don't let him
don't
in.
let him in. Yeah, and he made if you listen, he
The
made
Diddy
reference
joke.
to.
The Diddy joke
Okay, you
had
heard it.
people
Mhm.
uptight. You could tell people.
Okay. I saw some faces that were looking down, like
Yeah, everybody was looking. Yeah, they got people's booty holes clenched up a little bit with that Diddy joke. I don't know.
just a little. People are getting tense. Okay,
He made it. He was joking around with Kirk Franklin. Kirk Franklin was looking a little uptight too. But it was
right,
good. Anytime the celebrities are uptight, you know the host is doing a good job. You know, because the jokes he's like everybody's getting it, including
right.
himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That's what I like about Kevin. He doesn't leave himself out of the roasting,
Yeah.
which is
And
always
so of
nice.
course Kendrick was the big winner. I believe he was nominated 6 times, and he took home 4 awards, including Album of the Year for GNX, Best Male Hip Hop Artist, Video of the Year for Not Like Us, of course, and Best Collaboration with SZA for Luther. I'm not mad at that.
No, no.
Um,
I think that they are like brother and sister, like they're the twin, like the
mhm.
twin of each other.
They were basically the king and queen, or I say prince and princess of TDE Records, which is their label. Well, Kendrick recently left the label, but and I could see SZA leaving soon, but they were pretty much the prince and princess of that label because those were the people that like they've had a lot of other successful artists on TDE, but Kendrick and SZA were the front runners.
Right, right, right.
Dochi's actually a part of TDE as well too. She's the next one in line, I guess. Jamie Foxx. Did you see Jamie Foxx got an
I
icon
did in the
award?
tribute. Yes,
It was
yes.
beautiful.
I
Snoop
thought
Dogg.
so, and
Hmm.
seeing him cry, not
He
get
was
emotional.
emotional. He
He
was
was
emotional.
emotional, and it was nice because it was like you got to see a little bit of Jamie again. Like because as
Yes.
of late, I don't know, since he had that stroke, I told y'all I think this is a clone. Okay, but it
Hmm.
was nice to see Jamie. I don't know. It was nice to see his authenticity again. I don't know. It just seemed like old Jamie,
Yeah.
But it was so nice to see the tribute that they had to him, and I think he deserved it, and he got a little emotional, which was nice to see. It
Hmm.
makes them human. Which they're all human. These celebrities are human. They're human first, right? So, but sometimes we lose sight of that, and so in these moments, it's nice to see because Jamie has been grinding forever, as far as I know. As far as I know, he's been at this for decades, and so to get the tribute is really nice,
Yeah.
that we're recognizing Jamie Foxx.
And we almost lost him, so
Right? Okay.
and it's a
That's it.
reminder of who sang. So during his tribute, Tank sang some of his songs.
Hmm.
I think they brought out. There's somebody else they brought out for his tribute. I think it was the guy with the dreads, T Pain. T Pain's
Yes.
living his best life because they had a song. So it was really touching, and the performances were actually really good. I can't say that enough. So before we get into the main thing, is his outfits, the red carpet. I was just gonna mention some of the winners just for the music
Right.
category because the BT Awards has a bunch of random categories that I don't think they're the place to thing. And the only honorable mention, that non-music honorable mention that's interesting, is they have a Young Stars Award, and Blue Ivy won that award. Um, Interesting.
Yes. Nepotism.
Yeah, yeah, something interesting.
Yeah.
So I
but
don't know who else is. I don't know who else was nominated, so I can't say anything. But so I'll just leave it there. So okay, best R&B pop is SZA, hands down. Yes, of
yeah.
course. I don't know. I just seeing the winners. I don't know who's nominated, but I can't think of anybody else but her.
Right.
Best male R&B pop artist. Do you want to take a guess who it was?
Pop artist. Um,
Male R&B. Let's call it best male R&B.
male R&B. No.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
oh, I
I,
thought you'd get it because they've been up his ass all this time. Chris Brown.
oh wait. Okay. I missed. I missed some of the awards.
No,
And
not no, no. You're not
no, but
expecting you to
okay.
watch. I
But
was just more
I
guessing
mean,
on, but based on what's been going on in the
no, but you
culture.
know what? Like, tell me someone who's like other than Chris Brown.
Again, see? Yeah, so
Okay, so he
he's
already
had a
got
big
that
year.
category.
That's why I was like, you can guess. Even without knowing or watching, you would have I thought you would have got
Honestly, I didn't even think of Chris Brown for a second. But I mean, he's the only. I guess maybe that's why I didn't think there's no competition.
Mhm.
So,
Right now for at that his level, not really. Only him and Usher, to be honest.
and Usher, really? I don't
Oh
know.
no.
I don't know.
um
Usher needs to keep it to the Las Vegas
we
Strip.
already know the male hip hop artists. We already knew Doechii would win for best female. That's not a surprise. Best new
Yeah.
artist who I like, Leon Thomas. He has a song Mutt that I really love. And I like I mentioned, album of the year was Kendrick Lamar. So those were the main music winners. And
Mhm.
yeah, so it was good show. I'm not mad at any of the winners that I see on this
Mhm.
list, to be honest. And now we get to the dress code.
Before that, I just wanted to
Yeah, go
mention
ahead.
the performances. So,
Yes.
I thought that Tiana Taylor's performance, it was okay.
It was okay. I only saw it in bits and pieces, but I feel like I saw like three different scenes. You have the dramatic Taraji
Yeah,
opening,
right. The
then you
red
have
opening.
the
Mhm.
red opening, yellow. I was like, I could. It was. I just. I didn't even watch it in its entirety because I think when I was watching it, my phone connection was not good, so I just gave up on it. But yeah, it's interesting that she's back to music after what she
Right.
said. I'm sure she loves it. She's a great, creative performer. You know what? I don't know what it is because I like Tiana Taylor. I think she makes a lot of good decisions in
Yeah.
general for her career. She's very creative and she's been doing a lot of work as a creative director for other artists, like with their performances. So of course she's always
Right.
going to put on a really solid performance. So I'm gonna give it some time. I need to. She has apparently has a
Yeah,
new
if she's
video.
going back into music, I need to give it some more time. However, I just thought that the performance, I felt
Mhm.
like you were doing too much, Tiana. Like
Yeah,
I just felt like you were doing too
the
much.
fact that I didn't see the whole performance and I know that she was doing too much because I already saw three different
See?
scenes on stage. All I know is I saw three different scenes.
Why are we
Girl,
having
you're just
three?
dipping your toe back in music. Just give us a little taste. You're just doing
Right?
all of this.
Three?
And I
Come
think that's
on.
probably the issue with her career. I think she did get screwed over by the label she was on, but she's also might have the thing where you're doing too much. You keep it
She's doing too
simple.
much. And I think that could also be because her record label sucked and they
Mhm.
didn't promote her enough. And so
Yes,
when
yeah,
she
she
did
was
get a
screwed over.
chance,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she whenever she gets a chance, it seems like she always feels like she has to do too much. And I feel like
Okay.
you don't have to do that much, Tiana. Like you're a good performer.
Mhm,
Your breath control was awesome.
mhm,
I was like, wow, because these other heifers that performed, like Ashanti,
mhm.
Maya, all of these older performers, their breath control was not where it needed to be
Oh, did
after
you
being
see A. Marie?
fatigued.
I was
Yeah, I
happy to see
did,
A.
and
Marie.
I was so happy to see her, and the girl looks good.
She looks good.
I was
She
like,
looks the
did you
same.
age?
She looks the
Exactly.
same.
Did you age? Heifer. You look the exact same. And it was nice to see that she got her shine.
Yes, she needed it.
There's
She
been
deserves
lots
it.
of rumors over the years as to why Anne Marie just didn't work out, but she's always made good music. And
Hmm.
I'll be honest, when she was performing, every girl in the crowd was like, "Yeah, this one thing."
Mm.
Everybody was on it because her music to me is timeless. Uh,
Yes.
that's just me. I can pick up a Anne Marie song right now and still feel the same way
Yeah.
that I did when I heard it.
She's one of my unsung heroes. I don't know what you call it, but
What?
she
Me
slept.
too.
She's a sleeper. People sleep
They
on her.
done slept on her. To be honest, there's been rumors over the years that Beyonce kind of stole a part of her music, a part of her sounds, her style.
Well, it wasn't her
Eh,
sound to own because a
No,
producer
it
gave it to
wasn't.
her.
It
Mhm.
wasn't. However, she was the only one at that time that was really pushing that.
Yes.
And
I
then
would
all of
say
a
there's
sudden,
one more person. It was her. It was her and Blue Control with that sound.
be right, but
Yeah.
Blue Control, I don't know what she just disappeared. She
No,
just
she's another one. I think she had the same issue in that
vanished.
I would say what I could say, even though I'm a Beyonce stan, is that Beyonce, the producer who made that sound, she pretty much brought him in her camp. And if you're working with Beyonce, You're not
Right?
really going to be able to
Uh-huh.
give your
Right.
top stuff to anybody else, right? So in
No.
that way, yes, I could, that statement
Right.
that you're saying
And
is
but
mm,
the commonality between those two women,
mhm,
Blue Contrail and Marie,
mhm.
is Beyonce.
Yeah.
Both of their careers
But the
kind of
thing
didn't
is,
pick off. It didn't kick off real good.
if you're a real artist, you should
Right.
be able to, you
Right.
can't rely on one producer to like,
No.
but although
No.
that does happen, like say look at Brandy. There are some
Right.
artists where they make magic with a particular producer. And if they work with another producer, they'll make music, they'll be still maybe semi-successful, but they'll never get to that type of
To that level. And
level.
I think the hurt, right?
Yes, that
Because
too.
there's some artists that are primarily in this because it's an art to them. It's
Yes.
their soul. They're bearing their soul to us through their art.
Mhm.
And when you come along and you take something like it, some people it's hard to bounce back from.
Yeah.
Some people want to actually leave music
Yeah.
altogether,
Yeah, we
right? And
talked about it with Carrie Hilson.
see? Okay, so and some people will come back and I think that's what we're seeing now.
Mhm.
But there were very few performers, female performers that had really good breath control while performing. And Tiana, you are one of them that had wicked breath. You were doing all sorts of moves,
She was doing
okay?
everything and anything. Sorry.
And you're still singing very well. And I was like, okay, girl, this is what we've been trying to see from you for years. And hopefully she hooks up with a better producer. And people who are going to actually take her sound, maybe she just needs to stay independent for a little while
Oh yeah.
before she tries to
Yeah,
go
she's
that
been
route.
burned by the industry too much,
Right?
yeah?
And they shelved her. As far as I'm concerned, they
Yeah.
shelved her. And she had a lot of good music. She did.
Mm.
I just don't think she got the push that she needed behind her. Like that machine did not push Tiana.
No, I agree with you.
They didn't at all. But anyhow, I mean, the performances were overall really great. And I liked how they did like a tribute to 106 in Park.
Yes.
It felt very nostalgic. It felt like we were going back in time where, you get to see the videos and everything, but they're live perform and 106 in Park had live performances. They
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to see that. Also, who else's performance I wanted to mention?
Mm.
uh Ashanti's performance was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
I thought it was pretty good. Anne Marie really took me back. I was
Well,
like,
I want to,
okay, girl.
since we're talking about her, she did a NPR Tiny Desk and it was amazing. All the songs that I love from her. Again, she looks flawless. I'm going to shout that out real quick.
Yeah, she does. Like she looked like she hasn't aged a bit. Like very same. But anyhow, overall performances were really great. Who else? The men that performed.
Oh yeah, yeah. So there was a Tank tribute. There was doing the tribute for Jamie. The boys who were doing I mentioned the men, Luke James, Lucky Day, and I
Yeah,
can't, Miles something, I can't remember his full name. The kid from some Sinners singing. It's actually really good. I was like, damn, this was some grown man R&B.
right?
Tribute for what's his name? Jones, Quincy Jones.
Right.
Yeah. And I believe Mariah performed, but I didn't see it.
I didn't see it. I
Mm,
heard that
mhm.
she did, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, and I saw Glorilla. Glorilla did a good job.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. So anyhow, she did a really good job, and I really liked what she wore, even though the backside I was like, but I just liked the how like her costume in
Mhm.
the performance was really nice. I thought that she put herself together really nice. She stepped out with her new nose, and she looked good. You know, her new
Mhm.
nose has to settle in, but she looked good nonetheless.
Nonetheless, yes.
Yeah, she did look good, and I think she's a pretty girl. Like she really is a pretty girl.
Mhm.
When she accepted one of her awards, she's like, "Don't laugh at my accent," like because she's country, like she's
Mhm.
real country, right?
Mhm.
And you can tell when she talks, especially when she gets excited. You can
Mhm.
tell it comes out. She doesn't know how to control it when she's excited, and when she was accepting her award, she just called it like it is, and I can really rock with her because she's really authentic. Like she's really true to herself, and she really doesn't care. Like this is how I talk. Don't laugh at me. I'm up here talking, winning an award. Don't laugh at me
Yeah.
and my accent.
This is how this is not a performance. This is like the how I
This is
speak.
me.
Hmm.
And then Kevin, he had to call out her government name. I was like,
Gloria, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I'm calling
hallelujah.
everybody. He's like, I'm calling everybody by their government name. Can
Ah,
Gloria, hallelujah, please raise their hand.
right? And he's like, you're expecting to see some old woman from the cat from handing out catfish in the back of the church. Like,
Mhm.
no, it's gorilla. But I think she's it's nice to see how she's come, how far she's come,
Yeah.
and she's still staying humble,
Hmm.
even though she's doing her face and stuff, her nose and shit. But just stop there, gorilla. That's all I gotta say. Just stop there. Okay. Yeah. But anyhow, the
Yeah.
outfits,
Okay, on to the moment of truth here.
right?
Is there any standouts for you
I will say I liked the whole fact that people dressed up
in general? I know you were happy about
general
that.
was a big thing for me. But there were a few outfits that I was like, okay.
Mm.
Sierra, I liked her outfit. It was kind of edgy. It was kind of uh
Yeah,
it was edgy.
I
I
don't know
liked
why. Why did she wear the hat though? Like, was
that's
there
the I
really?
think that was the edgy part. I
Mm.
think that was supposed to be the edgy part because she was wearing leather, right? So
Mhm.
I think it was supposed to be street, like a
Mhm.
mixture,
Mhm.
juxtaposition kind of clothing where, you know, the street wear with like, biker wear, almost like that
Yeah,
rugged, anyway. Also I liked Gorilla. I thought she looked cute.
I don't like the
Um
wig, but
the wig threw me off. Yeah, yeah. I was like, Cruella Deville? I don't know.
Cruella. That's what. Yeah, pretty much that's her name,
All right, and
Cruella
that's what I
Deville.
felt.
And I also feel like I guess it's
Tiana
hard.
looked good. Tiana looked good though. Tiana
Tiana, I
Taylor
didn't see her red carpet
in the
look.
white with her eye candy of a man. Yeah.
Oh, I think I saw her sitting in the. I don't think I saw her red carpet, but I did see them sitting together. In the outfits. Yeah.
Also for the men, and I wanted to mention this because I've been looking at him lately, and Mario. I
Hmm. Oh
loved
yeah, I love
what
his look.
Mario was wearing.
Yeah, I
I
love
was
it.
like, that's fashionable, yet still
Masculine
tailored really well,
and
yet
masculine.
very masculine,
Hmm.
very like, here I am, man, and he just looked really nice. I was like, okay, Mario, show the people how it's done. Because he always steps out, and when he steps out, he's never fails. He never fails. Like, I've never seen him in something and I'm like, Mario, really? Okay.
Hmm.
Kevin Hart looked nice, but he did look basic.
Yeah, he kept it traditional.
um Ashanti looked nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she
But
looks
Buster,
happy.
did you see Buster? What do you think about Buster? I think Buster he kept it elevated. I'm
He
not a
did, and it was nice, but I don't know if Busta's losing weight.
He lost some, but I don't know if he's gaining it back. He did lose some. He lost a lot. He was more swole. Remember before when he first came back on the
Right?
scene recently, he was swole like a. So he's
Right?
definitely lost weight. So maybe yeah, the suit could have fit better, different, but it's I also took it as maybe it's like a '70s style suit, which is their '70s style suits are a little bit more
Yeah,
loose.
right, right. And that's what I liked about. I did like that. I thought it was nice. I did not like what Snoop Dogg was wearing with
Oh
his
no, him
wife.
and his wife. No, that looked a mess.
Yeah, I thought it was atrocious. No, for real. Like, but I think over time you've gone to so many awards. I did not like what Kirk Franklin had on, and I barely
Interesting.
liked his performance
Interesting.
because I felt like his performance is fake. Kirk
Mm.
Franklin just crosses me as one of those people who, I don't know, like he tries to, I don't know, I don't feel like he's really truly I don't know.
Hmm.
I know he's Christian.
Yeah.
He just doesn't always come off that way,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm not saying that there is a specific way or an okay way. It's just like Kevin said, stop thrusting your pelvic area. Thank
I'll say I like Kurt Franklin's look, but I think it should be on a much younger man.
you.
That's more
That's
what.
what it is. Thank you. Because I was trying to identify. I was trying, because it was like the clothes are okay,
Mhm.
but there's something that don't look right on you.
Yeah, yeah. I
It
don't
didn't
think
look right
it's
on
not age
him.
appropriate.
No.
He's not pulling it off.
No.
If you
No.
may.
B2K.
Mm.
Uh I don't know. I didn't I was like, this is so cheesy. I don't know.
The performance or what they're wearing.
Both.
Well, you know what? They were asked to do it. Who knows if they wanted to do it or not? It's like I
Other
think
than Omarion, all them heifers need that money.
that's true. It is
So the
true.
rest of them ain't saying no.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Despite everything, that's actually you never said a true thing, a truer thing.
Right? So I know Omarion was probably the deciding factor. If he ain't here, then we ain't doing it. Because right.
Yeah, and I'm
Okay.
sure they did it for the culture. I don't know if they get paid to do, probably. I don't know, but it's good. It's good for their clout, even if they don't actually get paid, which I don't think anybody gets paid to perform there. It's like
Hmm.
it'll bring. It's like a refresh of, oh yeah, these are the songs. This is how they look, and honestly, considering how many years it's been, they did a good job, in terms of like the dancing and all of that.
Yeah, because Omarion's not going on no stage for you to embarrass him. Because out of the four of them, Omarion's still touring.
Yes, you are
Okay.
absolutely
Yeah.
right.
So Omarion's gonna say, "Listen, you guys got to get it together." Because Fizz, there was a point where he was on the red carpet, and I thought, "You're high."
Oh yeah, he has a yeah.
Like you could tell, and
Mhm,
I was like, "Jeez, on peace." Um, Jamie Foxx looked really nice, but he always
mhm.
looks handsome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He always makes sure he shows out.
What'd you
So,
think of Shabuzi?
uh, the belts, it threw me off. Like I don't know. Everybody's saying like that's supposed to be like
Well, it's
the
so
big.
funny.
I don't
The
like the
belt is
belts.
cool, but I could see why it's throwing you off. It looks a little too much like a corset belt, kind of like.
Yeah, right? I was like, Shibuzi. And I think that Shibuzi is a very attractive man.
Mhm,
I think he's very handsome.
mhm,
I love his dreads, his wicks,
mhm,
because they're nice and clean, you
mhm.
know. But that belt
The belt
was
wasn't doing it for you,
no,
and that was supposed to be the piece, the showcase
right?
piece.
Kai Cenat looked good too.
Yeah, yeah. I actually even what's his name? Drewski. I like that it's a cropped shirt, and even though Drewski's a big boy, I do like the idea of the style. Like I did like that he didn't go traditional with his suit. So yeah, the social media boys were out too. Actually Drewski has a
What do you
movie.
think about Kendrick Lamar? Because that thing that was on his head is supposed. Like, I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of controversy around it. I
Is
don't
it
know
like a
why.
black Israelite thing? It wasn't a towel. I thought I don't know. I thought it was just a
It wasn't.
towel, but
It's a designer. I forgot the name of the designer, but it's the designer takes from a lot of like Japanese influence,
okay.
and the thing that he had around his, everybody's like, is that a towel or what is that?
Mm,
But you know what I'll say about Kendrick is that he usually his attire is very relatable,
yeah.
right? People can relate to what he's wearing, and
Hmm.
that he always, if you go back, you'll see what I'm saying.
Hmm.
He'll always throw one piece that's different,
Yeah.
like out of this world different. Like why'd you put, where'd that come from
Yeah.
different, you know? And that's one of the things. Like one year he showed up and he had a crown of thorns
Yep.
on his head, like, but he's in the b-boy wear, like you see he's relatable with his gear,
Hmm.
and then he'll just throw something from nowhere, out of no place, And I feel like that's a true identity of who Kendrick Lamar
Yeah,
is
it's look, now that I'm looking at a closer photo, it's like an intentional type of
exactly. And
head
usually he
covering.
does.
Mhm.
Usually he will. Usually he'll throw in something that is very intentional, that is so like, where did that come from? Right. But I feel like that's his personality, and that
Mm.
how you dress is a
Yeah,
representation
he's
of your
always
personality.
done his own thing. Yeah, he's always done his own. He's never like followed any type of trend. He always does his own
No,
thing.
none at all. And I can appreciate that.
Yep.
But yeah, Doji, I didn't like Doji what she was wearing on the red carpet.
Well,
I didn't like
her
it
and a
at
lot of
all.
ladies, she was wearing a theme that was pretty consistent on the red carpet, which is the late 90s, early 2000 R&B type of outfit. Um
Right. Yeah,
which
but she didn't hit the mark for
I
me.
didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Like even Free had something like that. Even
Right.
Cash Doll and her man had something like that. Kind of like that late 90s, early 2000s kind of R&B um look. Tisha Campbell kind of had something like that. Um
Tisha Campbell looked good though, but she did admit that she went under the knife and she had to get a mommy makeover.
oh really?
So yeah, she that wasn't natural. Uh
Was she? Mm,
yeah, all of that is not. She had some work done on her
okay.
body, and that's okay. Go on with
That's
your bad
okay.
self, girl.
Hey, everybody else is
Um,
doing it.
right? Uh, Kevin Hart's wife looked. She looked very pretty, but she looked extremely taller than him.
I didn't see it, but that's not too
Yeah,
hard for it to happen.
right. But I mean, Lord. What? Jennifer Hudson. I
Mhm.
did not like what she had on. What she was wearing. It looked very grandma.
Yeah, she
Um,
looked boring. I just no. We have to before we. Okay, the brat. You sent me a video clip of this
oh
clip of
yeah,
somebody going. So I
yeah,
was
yeah,
shocked at the brat, and
yeah.
I just scrolled and looked at I and saw the photo, her red carpet by herself without her wife. Um, what was the reason? The
Don't
brat.
know. I don't know. I don't
It
know,
was
but
a
it looked
custom.
bad.
It was it was a custom um
I,
duster by Anthony Lattimore. But
it looked horrible.
no, I it's like because and she's not known for being dressed like this. If this was Kanye West, then sure. But like this is no. We'll leave it there. It's a no for me, dog. Let's just leave it there.
Totally. I was like, really?
And
Be-
Free, I told Free was also wearing a dress like I told you, like the early 2000s kind of
yeah,
R&B look. She also kind of had that look as well. It's okay, but I think she looked like she couldn't breathe.
right? And one other thing about Kirk Franklin, did he have work done on his face?
Yeah, everybody's saying that. I think he did. Everybody's been saying that. He's definitely had done some work. Because if you look at photos from him from even just 10 years ago
He
and
looked like he
now,
had a facelift.
yeah, he did. Of course he did. He looks like it. People have been
He-
saying that. I
yeah,
think he did.
yeah. Even his hairline looks like it's misplaced. Like it's
Here-
not proportionate to the rest of his face.
yeah, the hairline gets messed up when you do that kind of work.
Right? That's usually the giveaway. But yeah, and overall, oh, and Usher, uh, I think I saw a picture of him, and I wasn't very. I was like,
He just yeah, he
really?
was boring. He was just wearing a regular suit, right?
Yeah, but like Usher, what's wrong with you?
He wants to go under the radar.
Why the herpes? What is it?
I
What
don't
is
know.
it? Why are we trying to go under the radar? Usher, you're Usher. Like,
Or
I don't
not.
even
I don't
understand
know. I
it.
just said that.
No, no, but that's you're right. That's what it seems like. Because this is the second time that we've seen Usher, and it's like, you fell flat, friend. When he was at the Met Gala the other day, I was like, or was that Pharrell?
Mhm.
Either way, Usher as of late, I'm just like, what's going on, Mr. Usher? Was just not impressed. I was not impressed. But anyhow,
Yeah.
overall, I think everybody showed up and showed out. It
Yep.
was so
Most
nice to see
definitely.
that, black people, we can look good. Like, I don't know when it turned to looking like trash, but I'm glad we got back to the point where we should be at, because
Mhm.
we're black excellence and we should look the part,
Mhm.
and I'm glad that Kevin Hart pointed that out,
Mhm.
and it's true. It's true. And look at us. Come on, man. We all look good. Even the ones that wanted to be a little bit more scandalous with their dress, like
Yeah.
Gorilla,
Yeah.
they still looked good. They still looked nice, nicely put together, and a little risque, but still nice. Like,
Mhm.
it was so nice to see how many, black people, except for Debrat, got the memo. Okay, because Debrat, I've seen you look better. I know you like to be tomboyish, okay, but I've seen you look better.
Yeah.
I've seen you look better in your tomboy way. I've seen you look better. And this was not it. You and your wife look like you were going to two entirely different
Yes,
events.
that's the thing with the photo. They're side by side. Looked wild.
Yeah, yeah. You looked like you were going to a grunge party, and your wife looked like she was going to an actual awards ceremony.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't get the memo. But anyhow, enough about that with me. Was there anybody that stood out to you that was like, yes, or were you like, nah, that didn't hit it?
Mm, I hate to say there was nobody that really was like yeah like to that yes thing where I was like, oh my god, like I'm thinking about women, like the women like dresses, like nobody, like you said, like Dochi underwhelmed me. Oh well, the only other person, I guess, Kiki kept it safe
Yeah, but
ish.
Kiki, stop losing weight, girl.
Yeah, she's very skinny now.
Yeah, it
Very, very
almost,
skinny.
yeah, it doesn't look good on you. I don't
Yeah,
think.
because she was slim. But yeah, nobody really wowed me on the women's side, to be honest. That we know. I will just say that oh, I just saw Justine Sky. Yeah, Justine Sky looks good, but she's not really as known.
Mm-hmm.
Kalani, here's my thing. I'm gonna say it. I don't know if I've said this before. I'm not a fan of the tattoo up your
Head to
body.
toe
Head,
tattoo, Manasa.
nah,
Mm-mm.
I just
Especially on a woman, and I know that
yeah,
sounds
I know it
sexist.
sounds
I know.
terrible. That's why I hate. That's why I don't say it. And I also believe your body, your choice. Do whatever the hell you want. Who cares? Like you look have whatever. But if it comes to a preference, if I were to look at a photo of two people in the same dress, or identical photo of the same person in the dress with one when they're covered with tattoos and when they're not, I'm just gonna be like, oh, the one without the tattoos is gonna be the one I choose. That's it. I don't know why. That's just what it is.
I just think that if you are gonna have all those tattoos, you have to find the right print to wear,
Yeah,
because
the print too didn't
it
help.
just
That's a
it
good point. The
just
print
it
did not help. If she was wearing all
nah.
white or like a solid
Right?
color, I think
Right?
that would help. Yeah, because you're wearing a printed dress and your skin is printed up like, with
Right? From
graphics.
head to toe. Like, there's no gap. And it's like, Kalani, I think she is a pretty woman. I
Hmm.
just think that there's some masculinity behind her that sometimes is takes over. Like,
Hmm.
that masculine energy kind of takes over the femininity.
Hmm.
She was dressed nicely as a uh in a dress and stuff, but that the tattoos just presented masculinity to me,
Hmm.
and it just took over the femininity of the
Hmm.
dress, if
Yeah.
that makes sense
Yeah.
to me. But I'm not I don't have any tattoos. None at all. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
Like you said, your body, your business. Okay. However, when it comes to situations like this, where you're walking a red carpet, or you're getting married, or, where you have to look, or not have to, but you tend to want to look feminine and dainty,
Hmm.
tattoos from head to toe just, I don't know. I
It's a
guess it
rough
takes
look. Let me just
it.
put it that.
Yeah, it takes a
I don't know
particular
what
type
else.
of person to pull that off.
Yeah.
Still, and I don't know. I just wasn't seeing it. But one person I didn't see at the awards was Cardi B.
Yeah, Cardi has a lot going on. I think it was good, better for her to stay away from the
Me
wars.
too. Me
I think it
too.
was a good call for her to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, Kevin made sure he mentioned her though. So But Kevin. But anyhow, the awards were a lot better this year, and so we are going to move on because I think we've talked
Yeah.
about the awards to a great length, and
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to see all this black excellence in one room, looking like we are excellent. Oh, and the last outfit that I wanted to say was, I think Ti heard me specifically, okay, because
Yeah, the 70s
he
suit.
made sure he didn't go on that red carpet in his uncle from the barbecue, okay, at the cookout, okay. He made sure he put on a little suit. He matched his daughter. I think they looked adorable. Um, Eris.
Mhm.
And but thank you, Unc. You didn't come on the damn red carpet this time, looking like you just came from the cookout. So I'm glad about that. But we're gonna move on now, and we're gonna move on to our one and only segment, which is the
The
workout.
workout.
A mental fitness and doing a deep dive discussion on things that are affecting us and our culture and our
Mhm.
community. And one thing that this topic, we haven't discussed it before, and I'm glad that we are discussing it
Mhm.
now. And it's homeschooling, nay or
Mhm.
yay. So, now I'll just briefly say how I feel
Mhm.
about homeschooling. So, I have a daughter, which I've mentioned
Mhm.
before, and she's been going to school, conventional school, since she was 10 months, right? And you start in the daycare
Yeah.
system here in Canada, and then you go on to grade one, where you have to go into some sort of public or private or Catholic or whatever
Mhm.
school. And so she's been going to school since she was a baby, right? And I noticed over her years of learning as a student that there is a difference between children who are homeschooled and ones that are not.
Mhm.
I've been around both. I have one that goes to conventional school, and I just found that her socialization, being that she started so young, my daughter's able to kind of fit in whenever school starts
Mhm.
again and they have a new class, new students, new teacher. The transition is very easy with
Mhm.
her, very easy. I've also noticed that in terms of her socialization, well, she's of the generation where they had the pandemic, so a good portion of her schooling actually was at home because of the
Mhm.
pandemic. And still she's been able to bounce back, and a lot of her classmates have done the same. And I've noticed that they're stronger socially. They're able to adapt to situations easier. um, they also are able to keep relationships and friendships. They understand social cues a lot
Mhm.
better, a lot easier than the opposite, where I have been around kids that were homeschooled, and I found that they lacked in those areas, such as socialization, social cues, also just being in a social
Mhm.
environment
Mhm.
altogether. It's just, you see a difference. Now, why am I talking about this? Because I've always said, you're going to do what you want with your
Mhm.
children, and however a child learns, it really is up to them, right? Because they're going to take in the information however they take it in. I don't think that homeschooling is the way to go. I think that it makes for socially awkward adults,
Mhm.
which at times can be hard for
Mhm.
them and everybody else to coexist in certain respects, such as a job, or going to social events or being a part of social events for
Mhm.
work and stuff like that. I've just noticed that it doesn't always pan out well, but there are exceptions to the rule, and there are people who thrive, and there are people who, even though they're homeschooled, they can't wait to get out into the world and experience, different social aspects of our
Mhm.
world. So, what do you think about this homeschooling? What do you think?
Well, this
Because
topic kind of came out of I was volunteering this week at a food bank, and there was
mhm,
a small family there, a mom and two kids. I would say the kids range from maybe 8 to 11, a girl and a boy,
mhm,
and they revealed that they're homeschooled, and this is a part of their Friday curriculum. Is every Friday they come to the food bank and help with along with their mom, in the food bank kitchen to help them package hot meals, or put together meals, pre-packaged meals. And that's amazing. I thought, I was like, wow, and I could tell, and talking
right?
to them, which I think is typical with homeschooled children, is they talk at a very advanced level. They always come across older than they are because, remember, they're being educated by their parent. They're more around adults than they are children, right? And so they will be a little bit more intellectually advanced, I think, in my experience, than a kid that's going to school in regular school. So this is where it came from. And again, I'm
Mhm,
always like, hey, do what you need to do, but as a parent, because there's various reasons. So I did a little bit of research on the topic. So it has increased a lot. Like before, people have always been homeschooling, right? But I think since
mhm,
COVID, since people it has increased significantly. So some
mhm.
parents decided to keep their kids home. Like they never sent their kid
Yeah.
back. So that's where it's grown a lot. So they said from before 2019, there was about 40,000 people in the whole of Canada that or students that were homeschooled. After 2020, it was over 830, sorry, 83, over 83,000. So more than doubled, for obvious reasons, right? The biggest province where homeschooling is popular, and it's not a big number, just 4.6%. Um, sorry, 5.8% in British Columbia, which I guess I can understand because British Columbia has a large Aboriginal community as well. So that could play
Mhm,
a role. Or I don't know. I shouldn't say without knowing for facts, but a lot of the reasons are parents aren't happy with the education system and what they're teaching kids or how they're teaching kids. That's a common one. Parental
mhm.
backgrounds. I think a lot of people as well, if they're religious reasons. So some people will go to a particular religion sect. So if it's like maybe it's a Jewish school, or
Mhm,
like they'll just go for classes. It's not full time, but they go to that maybe one day a week, and that's their
mhm,
education, and their parents do the rest. Um, Also mainstream appeal. I think a lot of people who don't agree with quote unquote the mainstream, so a lot of people who are radically conservative or people radically liberal tend to not agree with the
right?
public school system, so they want to control what
Right.
their kids are learning, and in turn
Mhm.
indoctrinating in them and their beliefs, which can be dangerous. One of the things that we could
Yep.
discuss. And then so those are some of the main reasons, but here's my thing. I think, like I mentioned, they tend to be more advanced. So meaning that the quality of education
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily. Sometimes back in the day, be like, oh, they don't have a regiment. We don't know what the parents are teaching
Yeah.
them. But there are some parents who are extra regimented to make sure that they're
Mhm.
not failing their child, because they've decided to
Yeah.
do this because they feel like the public school system isn't going to
Is gonna
is
fail
going to
them.
fail them. So
Mhm.
they're usually
Yeah.
overcompensating, and so a lot of kids who are homeschooled are actually more advanced than not, right?
Yeah.
But my main thing and why this is a topic, where as much as I found these well-rounded and very sociable kids, I'm like, they're like that because they hang around adults.
That's
They can
right.
communicate and have a big conversation with me, an adult, really well,
Yeah.
because they're around an adult a lot, right? They're not around a lot of other kids, and not to say I don't know them that well. They could have cousins, they could play in the neighborhoods. I won't say that, but um that's one of the challenges, I would say, for a nay, or one of the cons with it, is that the socialization. Like you said, your daughter started going to school from 10
Mhm.
months, and your daughter,
Yeah.
for a fact, I know, is very emotionally intelligent, and I think
Very.
that's
Yeah.
one of the benefits of being in a school system. The schools, you know what,
Yeah.
school prepares us for the real world. At the end
It
of the day,
does.
we have to deal with people every day, all the time, right? We have to socialize, we have to know social cues. You have to
Mhm.
understand, and
Mhm.
even though if you don't want to follow those rules, you still need to know what is happening, right? And I
Exactly.
find with somebody, I my experience, students who are homeschooled tend to be not great with social cues, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
It depends
Yeah.
how their parents manage that. That emotional intelligence one could not be so bad, but the social cues, social awkwardness is definitely a problem because, like I was telling Kim when we were talking about this,
Mhm.
the classroom prepares you for dynamics.
Right.
There's these rules and lines that we don't even know exist unless you literally are doing a thesis on it, on
Right.
psychoanalysis and socialization. But
Exactly.
they are lots of things are happening when a child is in a classroom.
Mhm. That's
And I
right.
know
That's
some
right.
people don't agree with the classroom dynamic because it's like it teaches you to have to bow down to authority, which would be the teacher, right? So there are some people
Mhm.
who are anti-fascist or anti, I guess, like, status quo, where they're like,
Mhm.
oh, it's just preparing you to be a slave in the workforce, which, that's not a crazy thought, but I think it's not just the authority. To me, the authority thing is not really the big thing of a classroom. It's more the
No.
interactions with other kids your age. That's the
Mhm.
benefit.
Yeah, and it can be argued there's different forms of classrooms
Hmm.
because Montessori is not the same as a traditional
Hmm.
classroom. It's not. However, they're both methods that are used here in Canada, at least, to teach children. And so, in a Montessori program, the conventional way of just sitting at a desk and listening to a teacher is not actually how they teach
Hmm.
children.
Hmm.
So I can see that argument to a degree, but I don't think that's all that you are to gather from your interaction in a classroom. When you look at a classroom, when you think of a classroom, right? The world that we live in is not nearly as advanced as we would like it to be. Okay, we're not in a spot where everybody adheres to the law, everybody does right. No, there's reasons why we have a system set up the way that we do. So you need to learn from very young that yes, there are people above
Hmm.
you. Yeah, they're called the police, right? And yes, they will stop you. And yes, they will arrest you. And yes, you can go to jail. So there is definitely a higher power system that's in place that whether we like it or not, we have to a level
We at least have to understand. We
adhere
at
to
least have
it.
to understand
We
it.
have to adhere to it at least. Like,
Understand it.
exactly. Well, I explained to my
Mhm.
daughter like
Mhm.
this. I say, if I run a red light, right? If I run a red light, there is a system set up in place to prevent me from doing it again.
Yes.
Because if I continue to do it, I could put myself and everybody else that's in that car and everybody else that's on the
Mhm.
road at
Yeah.
risk. So we see when a country doesn't have order,
Yeah.
right? What can happen, right? So we tend not to focus so much on developing our country if we have to worry about order.
Mhm.
So if we have to worry about people running red lights all the time and crashing into each other, that will be the priority, not okay, well, how do we expand as a
Mhm.
country? So there's reasons for things in place. There's reasons for our these things to be in place for our safety. Now, are we indoctrinated? Yeah,
Mhm.
we sure
Mhm.
are. Yes, we are. However, you could say that about someone who's
That's true
homeschooling.
because you don't know what their parents are indoctrinating them with. It
Exactly.
could be hateful.
Right?
It could
So
be harmful. Yeah.
it could exactly. And if you're going to now go out into the rest of the world, right? With your ideologies and not understanding that there are other
You're right.
ideologies or there's other
Yep.
ideas of how this world should
Mhm.
run, if you don't understand that,
Yeah.
it could
They're
be
dangerous.
detrimental to your
Yeah.
life.
I saw an interest,
That's just the truth,
and that's
you
actually a
know.
great point. I I saw an interesting quote, which I do kind of I feel feeds into the socialization thing, which to me is the main thing outside of control, like quality control
Yeah.
of the education.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and say that 9 times out of 10 the quality is good because a lot of them do have about higher than average education
They
levels. Yeah,
do.
but here they
They
said they
do.
did interesting quote. This is U.S. only. I don't see this numbers with Canada, but they said while homeschool students have higher college acceptance, again, like I said, because their education is good. A lot of studies suggest they're less likely to attend college overall, and I think it goes back again to that anti authority mindset that parents who
Mhm.
tend to do this are, as well as the
Mhm.
socialization. Because if you spent your 12 years of your education, or even half of your education, say the first half you go to school and the second half your parents decide for whatever reason they want to do homeschooling, it would be hard to transition from homeschooling to
Yeah,
college. College is like
definitely.
high school on crack. So
Right? Right? And in college and in university, there okay, see, so that's another thing when you talk about socialization, right? Like the comfort of the home,
mhm.
right? So when you're teaching a child in the comfort of their home,
Mm,
they eventually have to be uncomfortable.
yes,
They eventually have to go out into the
you're right.
world. So even if let's just a scenario. You homeschool your child from the day that they're born to them going to now be accepted into a university or a
Mhm.
college. Can you imagine the transition? Could you
That'd be
imagine
traumatizing.
being, it would be very traumatizing and it might even be really hard for you to focus on your actual studies because you have to now be a part of a world that you've been absent
Mhm.
from for your entire life. So just put that in perspective. Now, when you have to go out into the workforce, okay, and you have to work with other people, bro, other people who are not homeschooled,
Mhm.
right? And so they think differently than you.
Mhm.
Are you going to be able to adapt? And I find that when children go to conventional school, their adaptability is out of this
Mhm.
world. It's out of this world. You can see how kids are able to adapt grade by
Yeah.
grade, right? Now, when you're in homeschooling, where would that come from? What you have to schedule in adapting to the
Yeah,
world?
you'd probably have to. I think if somebody's doing it right, they have other social programs, whether it's sports or something, for them to get that.
But it's a scheduling of, you have to schedule that
Yes,
into your
yes,
your school
yes,
plan,
yes.
right? Or
I
your
agree. Hmm.
curriculum. And that's okay. Listen, hey, what I have to say about it is you do what you want with your child.
Hmm.
Okay? While you're doing what you want with your child, just make sure that that child will be able to go into the rest of
Yes,
society.
that's the main thing.
That's it. Because I don't want to work with your child if they can't get themselves together.
Hmm.
Okay, if they can't be in a meeting and understand social
Hmm.
cues, if they can't, understand it's not your turn to talk,
Right.
if they don't understand there's authority out here, whether you wanted to believe it or feed into it or
Hmm.
not, unless you're working for yourself, well, even when you're working for yourself, there's always a
Hmm.
boss. There's
Yeah,
always
your
a boss.
client.
Even when you're
Your
working for
yeah.
yourself, your client is your
Hmm.
boss. So, like, these are things that we can't really run away from. And if you want to teach your child at home, that's fine. But when you're teaching them, make sure you make sure you roll this into the curriculum, that you need to be able to adjust to the world around
Yeah.
you and the people that you work with, because we are human beings that are meant to work together and be around each
Yeah.
other. So, hopefully when you homeschool your child, you teach that to them, and it has to be a lesson that's not, oh, well, we'll get to it, or
It
no,
has
it
to be
has to
built
be a
into.
part of their day-to-day
Yeah.
living, because that's what they will have to live with down the
And that's the
line.
biggest drawback to me. I think there's nothing wrong with it because it's the stats and the research says it's actually a good thing for the kids and the family. You get flexibility, you could protect your kids from
Yeah.
bullying and stuff like that. But the socialization thing is so important when you grow up that it's like a big it could be a big drawback if, like, to your point, they don't build that into whatever curriculum they have for the kids. So yeah, that's pretty much.
And when you say bullying, I'm of the generation where bullying was the worst. Okay? We were ruthless back
Mhm.
then. Okay, we didn't give a
Yeah.
shit. We'd tell you about yourself, your mama, your daddy, your everybody.
Yep.
You understand?
Mhm.
And it built character. It built character. It did, and I just think that, you know what, you can't run from the world that you're
Mhm.
in. You just can't. It's just the
Mhm.
reality. You can protect your child as much as you can, but there's gonna come a time where that child will have to face the
Mhm.
fear.
Yeah.
They'll have to be involved. When you think about even the world that we're in now, in terms of you and I, we're in the corporate
Mhm.
world. Very often, the corporate world reminds me of high
Oh
school.
yeah.
Very much
Yeah.
so. Okay. And I did pretty well in high
Yeah.
school.
You was
So
a Amy
yeah,
was a popular girl. Mhm.
right. And so well, I don't know. I had my 1-2 friend, but
Yeah.
anyway, everybody knew
Yeah.
me. Everybody knew
Mhm.
me, but I kept my 1-2
Mhm.
friend.
Mhm.
But overall, I was able to, maneuver my way through high school, and I feel like I'm able to maneuver my way through the corporate
Mhm.
world because of those experiences. So I'm just saying, however you want to teach your child or you want your child to learn, that's your business. That's your right as a parent to
Yeah.
decide. However, when you're making that decision, please know your child. Know your child in and out, and understand your child's going to evolve.
Mhm.
So there might come a time where they're going to want to experience.
That's true.
Don't hold them
That's a
back
good point.
because of your own
That's a good
insecurities.
point. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying, because children don't know what they don't know, right? So if you're holding them at school, at home, sorry, teaching them all the way up, past the age of 6, where they would be going to school, there's gonna come a time where that child is going to be curious. There's going to come a time where they might even want to go to school. And if that is the case, let them go. Let them experience it. Don't hold back experiences from your child because of your insecurities or because of whatever your
Whatever your
ideologies
fear
are.
is, yeah.
Whatever it
Mhm.
is, like, let your child go on their journey. Harder, it's hard. It's I know it's easier said than done, because I'm myself, at times I have to be like, okay, let
Mhm.
go. I have to let go. She's gonna become a person in this
Mhm.
world, and I'm not gonna be here forever.
Right.
So I want her to, and I suggest that for all parents. But for me, I don't know. I've met some really weird people who were homeschooled,
When it all
and I'm
comes
like,
down to it, that
right? Some really weird people, and I'm like, you're on the verge of
no,
cycle,
wow.
okay? Like, you were just one tip over to the edge, and we're on the verge of cycle. But to each
Yeah.
their own. To each their own. And I know as parents, you try to do the best you can. So just don't lead in fear.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
it. Don't lead in fear. And with all of that said, we do hope that your hearts and minds were activated on this week's show. So whether you lead with your heart or your mind, please stay passionate and thoughtful. We'll talk to y'all real soon. Bye.
Bye.